Hi, I'm Adina Fredman. I've been involved with Drisha for many years. I was the Shoela de Mishiva in the July program, and I've taught in numerous informal settings as well. This week's Parsha, Parashat Bechukotai, is the final Parsha in Sefer Vayikra. The Parsha begins with the following verse. Im bechukotai telechu, vet mitzvotai tishmeru v'asitem otam. If you will follow my decrees and observe my commandments and perform them, then I, God, promise Bnei Israel the following blessings as a reward. There will be rain, good harvests, fruit, security in the land of Israel, victory in battle, peace, many children, and the presence of God in their midst. These blessings are followed by the opposite verse. V'im lo tishmu li v'lo tasu et kol hamitzvot ha'ela. But if you will not listen to me and will not perform all these commandments, then the following curses will befall Bnei Israel. There will be illness, starvation, enemies, wild animals, destruction of homes and the temple, fear, and finally exile from the land. And then the entire chapter concludes with Ela hachukim v'mishpatim v'hatorot asher natan Hashem beino uvein Bnei Israel b'har Sinai b'yad Moshe. These are the decrees, the ordinances, and the teachings that God gave between himself and Bnei Israel on Har Sinai through Moshe. Since Sefer Vayikra is a book of laws, the first half dealing with the laws relating to the Mishkan and the Korbanot, the tabernacle, and the sacrifices, and all the procedures surrounding them and relating to them, and the second half dealing with the laws enabling the creation of a holy nation in a holy land, celebrating the holy days. This chapter, chapter 26, enumerating the consequences, the rewards and the punishments for following the laws or failing to follow the laws, is the perfect ending for the entire book. And the last verse, Ela chukim v'hamishpatim v'hatorot, is a perfect summation. Rabbi Menachem Leibtag points out that the terms chukim u'mishpatim are found throughout the second half of the Sefer, and the word Torot introduces the Korbanot and the Mishkan procedures in the first half of the Sefer. Therefore, the closing verse of the chapter can be read as the closing verse of the entire book, not just of the chapter, but of this entire book of laws. We have our perfect ending, chazak chazak v'nit chazek. But then we turn the page, and we see that there is an entire additional chapter dealing with arachim, with valuations. If someone wants to make a voluntary contribution to the Mishkan or to the temple, you can give the monetary value of yourself or of another person, or of your animal or your field or your home, not the item itself, but rather only its monetary value. And this chapter deals with how these valuations are fixed. Some have fixed values, and some are determined by the Kohen. And this chapter ends with a similar closing verse. Ela hamitzvot asher tzivah Hashem et Moshe el bnei Israel b'Har Sinai. These are the commandments that God commanded Moshe to Bnei Israel on Har Sinai. And the obvious question is, why is this final chapter, arachim, added on at the end? Shouldn't it have been included in the earlier part of Vayikra, perhaps with the voluntary sacrifices? Why ruin our perfect ending? So I want to answer this question by looking again at the first verse of the Parsha. Im bechukotai telechu et mitzvotai tishmeru v'asitem otam. Rashi asks, what is the meaning of this phrase, Im bechukotai telechu? It can't mean if you perform the commandments, because it is followed by the phrase, Vet mitzvotai tishmeru. So it must mean something else. And Rashi explains, Shetiyu amelim b'Torah. You should work at or toil at Torah. And Rashi explains further, Hevu amelim b'Torah al menat lishmor lukayim. Learn Torah so that you can perform the commandments. Similarly, Ibn Ezra explains, Mitzvah lilmod ulilamed v'la'asot. It is a mitzvah both to learn, to teach, and to perform the commandments. So we can understand this verse as work hard in the study of Torah so that you can perform the mitzvot. I would like to suggest a broader understanding of this phrase, Im bechukotai telechu. The Or HaChaim explains, Lashon halicha, shetzarich la'asok b'Torah afilu b'halichato, al derech omro u'belechtecha b'derech. The verse uses the language of halicha, of walking, of going. One should be osek, involved with Torah, even when walking along the road or going about your day-to-day business. As we say every day in Kriyat Shema, V'dibarta bam, b'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'velechtecha b'derech. Speak words of Torah both when you are at home and when you are going on your way. And we can now understand why the chapter of Arachin follows the commandment to be osek b'Torah. Arachin teaches us that as we go through our daily lives, our own halicha b'derech, we should value ourselves and our possessions in terms of sanctity. How can my talents, my abilities, resources, productivity be used for a holy or sanctified purpose? How can they be utilized to further the goals of the chukim u'mishpatim v'torot? We can no longer bring the dollar or shekel amount of ourselves or our possessions to the mikdash, but we can find a way to donate their value to Avodat Hashem. In this way, we are truly amelim b'Torah. Shabbat shalom.